Hi, I'm Scorpia and I love Interview with a Vampire. If you're watching the AMC series and you fall in love with all of the characters, then you are probably wondering, should you read the books? As someone who has watched the 19th movies first, Interview with the Vampire, and then read the Interview with the Vampire book and eventually read all other 13 books of the main The Vampire Chronicles series, I want to share my thoughts with you. And the short answer is maybe. Not because the books are bad. In fact, I absolutely love them, but they're not for everyone. And I think it's so important to just know what you're getting into. Total side piece information. I haven't read the two spin-off books, and I am reading the Mayfair Witches right now. And the first book of the Mayfair Witches is so fucking thick. Like, I believe a good way to start is watching the movie. Not the movie Queen of the Damned, because that movie, as funny as it is, it's hilarious. It's also really bad. Although I love Akasha. Like, she looks so awesome. She's a very one-dimensional character in the whole movie, and she just like barely shows up, but I love her. I love her so much. She looks amazing. Looks do count sometimes. Anyway.
No. Oui.
Do not watch Queen of the Damned. Watch the Interview with the Vampire movie, and I've watched it a few years ago, and I think it's not that much of a good movie, but I did enjoy it when I watched it, and I think it's very close to the first book in a lot of ways. Still, obviously, they changed a lot of things because it's like a movie, and it's not, it's not the same. Don't watch a movie about a book expecting that it's like the book. That's not how it works. One thing I always tell people is don't go into the books expecting the TV show, because they did change quite a lot. Not just, about where the characters are from, or also, the time period thing, but also, for example, they made Daniel Malloy, who doesn't even have a name in the first Interview with the Vampire book. They made him such an important character, and I love him. I love him so much. But there's just a lot of differences also in regard of the characters of Louis and Armand and Claudia. I would maybe argue that Lestat is kind of close to the books, but also they did change some things about him. And for me, Lestat is just a way more compelling character on screen, because Sam Reed is an amazing actor than he is in the books. Although I love book Lestat too. It took a while, but I do love him. The show focuses way more on relationships and drama and social themes, and the books spend more time inside the heads of the characters. The books are also way more philosophical in a lot of ways, and intro perspective. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm very nervous. I'm very bad at speaking English. Please be gentle with me, okay? Also, the books are just insanely unhinged. There's like this whole joke about Armand being a gremlin because he is kind of insane and unhinged and such a tragic character. Such a tragic character. Anyway, they call him kind of gremlin because, he is a gremlin, but he's so much worse in the books. I don't know if you even say so much worse. I don't think that's grammatically correct. If I say anything wrong in this video or in any video ever, please don't correct me, because as one of my favorite AO3 notes ever said, I don't have respect for the English language, which is a lie. I love English, but I'm so insecure about speaking it, so please, be nice, please. Back to the text. Anne Rice was less interested in writing a perfectly planned out fantasy paranormal saga and more interested in exploring these questions about immortality, morality, religion, loneliness, power, identity, and what it just means to live when everyone around you dies. The books also change a lot from one installment to the next one. Some are more like gothic horror, and the later books are in some ways a little bit more sci-fi. If you read them, you know it. You know it, that's a little bit sci-fi.
Are you schizophrenic, Louis? No.
Of that brings me to a very, very important thing. And although this series has a very dedicated fan base and has become incredibly influential, I don't think that the books are mainstream. They are simply too strange. And you cannot compare them with these like typical vampire books on Book Talk. No hate to these books, because I've read them too, and some of them I like too, but you can't compare it. I've read quite some vampire books because I've been obsessed with vampires since I was a child, and I have never read anything that came close to the Vampire Chronicles or the Vampire Lestat in general. It's just so insane. And I think the same goes for the series, because the series is so excellent in the writing, in the way that they made it, and in the like acting and all of that stuff. I've never seen a series that compares to it, but I do think that the TV show is a little bit more mainstream coded than the books are. Anne Rice follows her interests wherever they lead her, and sometimes that means entire sections of this very interesting philosophical takes and vampires discussing morality for hundreds of pages and just talking about what the hunger of being alive means. And sometimes it feels like every what the fuck meme combined into one. Best way to approach these books is with an open mind. Let them be weird, let them surprise you, let them take you where they want you to go. Now, that also means you will go into some very dark areas. First of all, these books are part of the Gothic genre, which has always been about exploring these society taboos, which is great, amazing. I love it. However, there is also a major issue throughout parts of the series regarding consent and relationships between adults and minors. This becomes especially bad in books like The Vampire Armand, but also in the first book, Interview with the Vampire, you have Louis who constantly describes Claudia as sensual. In several cases, adult characters engage in sexual relationships with minors. It's not really sexual because they can't do that, these vampires, but it's just there's still a lot of implications in these books in general. And it just gets very uncomfortable, especially because the narrative does not always treat these actions, especially like the very violent actions from adults towards minors, to the level of condemnation that I would like. There are not really any consequences for characters like Marius, who I fucking hate, or David Talbot. I hope I'm saying his name right. Anyway, I hate him, and I'm so glad they killed him off. For some readers, this will be a deal breaker. For others, it's something they can acknowledge while still thinking critically about these books and engaging with them. Either way, I think it's very important to be upfront about it and just to know about it. Another thing to keep in mind is Lestat himself. Lestat is the main character starting from book 2. He's not always the main character, but I would consider him the main character of all of these books. Lestat is one of the most fascinating characters I've ever read.
I'm told you've lived a fascinating life.
I do not know any character that is like him. He's charismatic, funny, intelligent, so selfish, dramatic, compassionate, cruel, insightful, reckless, and endlessly entertaining. I think the series made a very, very, very good depiction of this character, and Sam Reed is such an amazing actor. Especially like in the latest episode, and by that I mean episode 3 of season 3, I was just blown away by it. But Lestat in the books, who is a very complex character, is also so incredibly frustrating.
God spends 3 or 4 days with folks.
If your goal is to find a really like easy character to relate to, I believe these books are not right for you. In the series and in the books, that all of these characters do terrible things. I wouldn't call them villains because I think that would just simplify it a lot, but they do terrible things. And in these books, they're not often, as I said, consequences for these things, yes, which can drive you insane. The series does this a little bit better, in my opinion, but the books have their strengths and the series has their too, and both have weaknesses. Anne Rice loved Lestat, which you notice a lot. She also loved Marius for whatever fucking reason. Yeah. I don't know. You just notice it in the books. But Lestat can drive you insane. He did drive me insane in a good way, in a bad way. Oh my god, my voice. Okay. He's very messy and he always reinvents himself. Which, understandable, when you live like that fucking long. Yes, I would do the same. Maybe not the same, but like, you get it. Overall, do I recommend you these books? Again, maybe. I don't know you. I don't know what you like or what like your boundaries are. I don't know what you want in a book. But don't read them because you want more of the TV show. Read them because you're interested in spending time with these new or old ways of these characters. Read them because you're curious about Anne Rice's ideas. Read them because you want something that is very ambitious and strange and flawed and beautiful and terribly unhinged. These books are not perfect. Some have aged very poorly, in my opinion. Some contain uncomfortable aspects in a good and in a bad way. Some are very messy, some are very brilliant. But if they click with you, then you can have a very special experience with them. At the end of the day, I went in as a fan of the adaptation, or at least kind of a fan. I was like really curious about it, and I am a huge fan of these books. They gave me some of my favorite characters and just a very interesting experience reading them. So in what order you should read them, then I would definitely advise you read the first and the second and third book. So the first 3 books first, and then you can just kind of like choose what you want to get in next. I think the last 3 books are also kind of like connected, but everything in between is just so much chaos. Jess made a very good video about it, also like putting them in different categories because they're kind of like their own main series inside of the series. I would generally recommend you Jess videos because it was amazing. The best like 3 to 4 hours I have spent in my life will be crazy. And maybe this weird and wonderful vampire universe is for you too. Anyway, thanks for watching me ramble. I'm going to watch the Vampire Lestat now. Again, feel free to comment and like and subscribe and tell me what your opinion about these books is. Do you want to read them? Have you read them? Tell me about it. Let's go.